Hi, we are Spicy Space Chickens, and this is our pitch for the Embodied Self-Defense Brief. This is our team that will be working on the project. Deliverables for the project is a visual novel inspired game prototype for Embodied Company's acquisition of further funding and development.
We realised that the influences for the art style provided by yourself was really bold, and it was a really good niche for the game. So sticking with that, we wanted to put forth two distinctly different choices. So the first kind of style is comic book style, and we took the Telltale influence and expanded upon it and looked at games such as Raptor Boyfriend, Scarlet, Hollow, and Monster Prom, as well as Borderlands, and for a more 3D theme games. We wanted to look at very narrative-driven games with strong LGBTQ plus themes, as mentioned in the brief. The client base is quite strongly in this and female, but we wanted to not limit it just to these. I then started doing some rough grey box concepts, just to give an idea of a possible layout for the scene. It's a very early version, but it's just to give a visual of what it could look like for the flat. And I also did this for the gym changing rooms.
Here are some early grey boxing concepts for the gym. It'll be quite small scale, but we'll be filled with all the equipment a small scale gym like this would have.
So these are some initial concepts for the two characters that the player meets, which are featured in the section of the mirror board that we were proposing to create. Since the characters are meant to kind of come across as real people, we kept the designs quite simple and natural, but stylised enough to fit into the hand-drawn art style that we'd be going for.
So players will advance through the story, mostly through dialogue and character interactions. They'll have a minimum of 2 responses and should function as quick-time events, so the player has to quickly think as they would in a real-life scenario. I also created a couple of mock-ups which are touch-friendly for mobile users. To add more gameplay features, players will be able to move around the environment when outside of dialogue by tapping the screen. There'll be interactable objects that could give extra information about the scenario. Some dialogue options may be locked unless the player has interacted with specific objects. Some examples include a photo frame that'll tell you more about a character's background and appearance and stuff, a household item that could be used in self-defense, or keys that could unlock an alternate escape route.
We're hoping that these attributes could help unlock certain paths and routes for the character, as well as giving them negotiation to de-escalate conflicts, and these can be leveled up by the choices that you make through the story. At the bottom left you'll see a mock-up that Liam made in the notebook style of the attributes and inventory menus. And then we've also got the possibility of a dialogue history tree, which will allow the player to revisit different choices that they've made easily and quickly, and then explore further routes and give them more replayability and explore different outcomes for the situations. We're hoping to do a colour overlay for short segments, an effect over the top to indicate how the player is feeling, including maybe some internal thoughts given through a blur or grayscale effect. And we thought it would be useful to help the player analyse what effect their choices are having in the story.
So here we've got a couple of demos of the camera. First on the left is the rotating and zooming in on objects. And then on the right we've got a demo of what player movement might look like.
We have great strength in a dedicated character artist and a dedicated animator, meaning we can make use of their expertise to create visually appealing moments. This also plays into the visual novel and comic book style and following their narrative principles.
Our target audience for the project is late teens to early adults, so around 17 to 30. For the business side, the type of revenue module we feel is most appropriate for the client is a freemium model, which allows the consumer initial free access to the game, but progress further and learn more from the self-defense course, the consumer would have to pay for a said course.